Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definition. My name is Coach Ray Z, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be talking about Los Angeles Marathon recap. I just finished my 16th consecutive marathon and my 56th total marathon. Uh, what I mentioned this month is that I was going to do a whole tribute to women's history, and I definitely tried. I reached out to so many athletes, and unfortunately, due to scheduling, it's a little bit difficult to get them in. I'm still working on getting some to end the month strong, but pretty much this whole month has been to women. I seen this statistic today that said that 40% of athletes are women and they only get 10% of media coverage. Even though, I consider myself like Kobe, a girl dad. My daughter's not really into sports or anything like that. I I understand what it's like not to get recognized for your achievements and not to be spotlighted. And for that reason, I'm got even more into what I'm doing. I'm definitely going to keep bringing on. I've always tried to keep a balance with scheduling of guests and people and everything else. I will be looking forward to having more, and I'm hoping to have a pro golfer female to end the month. I won't say names until everything's confirmed, but that's something you can look forward to. And today I am coming to you from, I have another show on Fireside. It's called Drunks, as you can see. And that is the emphasis on run. And it's a variety, it's actually about working out, earning your beer. And it's with my co host, Ty. So I'm in the Drunks layer today. I'm doing remote from normally where I work out. And I completed my 56th marathon. And it's my 16th consecutive Los Angeles marathon. Here is the medal that I earned that day. And this is a special t shirt that LA Marathon gave out. Showed it on camera real quick. Basically has my name on it. It has the names of everybody who participated in the marathon in November and in March. And the reason why they made the special shirt is because, due to COVID, they ended up having to switch the dates. They've never had the marathon in November. It's typically in March, but because of COVID, they pushed it back and they had it in November and then in March. For a lot of people, that it's not easy. Majority of the population has never run a marathon. It's a real small percentage. So to be able to do a marathon in such a short amount of time, they decided to honor the runners, which I applaud LA Marathon for. I think if you've heard my past episodes on LA Marathon, it's like it's a love hate relationship with them. I love LA Marathon. I love all the people that go out and cheer you on. I love all the runners in the community. I've had a issue with some of the ownerships of the marathons when it's been bought and sold throughout the years, and the race directors, and really just basically, uh, the way I feel that they treat runners or some of the things that they could do to improve. But overall, I will never quit running LA Marathon, not because of the race directors or anything like that, but because it's my hometown. I love it. I truly enjoy it. Um, if like I've mentioned in the past, if you're a racist, LA Marathon's not for you. You run through so many different communities. You run through like the Mexican American community, Salvadoranian, the West Hollywood, which is like LBT community. You run through the Indian, I mean from like India, uh, and it's just the Jewish community. It is just so nice and great to have everybody come out support you. They're either giving you water or soda, or if you're lucky enough to get beer. That is just so nice to have like little kids cheering you on and want to high five you. So for me, I really enjoyed LA Marathon this year, and overall, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, there was one tragedy in this marathon. Um, her I only wrote down her last name, Paddock, and it's kind of not really sure because LA Marathon had her listed at age 46 and the fire department listed her at age 44. It's not quite clear, but she unfortunately passed away. She crossed the finish line. She ran a relay race, and she was a fundraising for uh, Asian, I think, hate and drug abuse, and it was like charity. And unfortunately, when she passed the finish line, she went into cardiac arrest, and she ended up passing away in the hospital. So my heart goes out to them and their family. Um, I saw the family on the news, and the family, they felt that she did everything she needed to do in this life, and she got her PhD in kindness, and it was time for her to move on. And instead of being like all upset, a lot of people have donated to their, to their GoFund. They've raised over 42,000, and I think their goal was 40,000. And next year, the whole family, the husband and daughter, and I'm not sure who else, those are the two main people I saw in the news, they're planning to walk the LA Marathon as a tribute to her. So that's great, and they would like to do some sort of charity eventually for her, in honor of her. And I will reach out to the family and welcome them on here so they can talk about it. Anytime someone passes away, it's a tragedy, especially when you're just out there trying to have a good time, or especially trying to fundraise for the more I looked into her and her life, she was an avid walker and runner, and she really was fighting for equality. And uh people like myself, minorities that don't just get the recognition, or don't get the options or that other people have. So it's really sad. From there, I looked a little bit into the history of people who passed away in the LA Marathon. I ran the LA Marathon the first time in 2007. And according to what I found in the Los Angeles Times, and I remember that year, two former police officers passed away that year. Besides that, one 53-year-old, oh, that was a retired Los Angeles police detective. He suffered a heart attack near mile 24 Olympic Boulevard. And then they used to have a bike tour, so you could bike the LA Marathon. And another gentleman passed away during the bike tour. He was 50 years old. So the LA Marathon has been going on since 1984. It came about the first time that the Olympics came to Los Angeles. I'm not sure if it's the first time, but it's in recent time they came to Los Angeles. And so they started the Los Angeles Marathon. So it's been going on for quite some time. And since then, they've had maybe about 4 deaths from what I could tell. I know I've ran it, and I've seen people collapse in front of me. And one year it was really, really hot. I don't remember the year. And we all knew it was going to be a heat wave. So Los Angeles Marathon decided to start the marathon 1 hour earlier to avoid, issues. And I was feeling great that race. I was running. I felt really, really strong. And then mile 18 comes, and I see an Asian young guy just like collapse on the floor. And if people weren't around him, of course I would have stopped to help him out and do whatever I could for him, call 911. But there was people around him, and I'm CPR certified, but beyond that, what else could I do? So I let the professionals handle that. And I tried looking up, what happened to him. I'm always concerned about it. Uh, and as I kept running, I was like, oh, I'm like, he's younger than me. I'm like, what if he felt great, just like I feel great? And then he had some sort of heart problem or something that made him collapse, and that definitely played a role in me finishing strong, because I started thinking maybe I should slow down. Maybe I shouldn't go as fast. What if I end up on the ground? What if I get some sort of heat stroke? And that mentally messed me up. So I didn't finish as strong as I wanted to. And I always try. At the time, I didn't have a podcast or anything, but now with a podcast, as I mentioned, I'm always trying to spotlight the people that there's so many athletes that people would call them weekend warriors, and they to me, I've mentioned this in past shows. Weekend warriors, you could call them weak or whatever, but they don't have professional, like professional athletes. They have dietitians, they have weight trainers, they have strength and conditioning coaches. You name it, they have all of it. And a lot of us so-called weekend warriors, we work full time, we have families, we have relationships, and we're doing this all for fun. And I'm trying to spotlight those people. I've tried to, I try to bring in bigger guests than I have, because then that'll bring a more spotlight to the average person, which is the main goal. And um, overall, like I said, LA Marathon, for me, it was a life changing experience. The first time I ran it, I was depressed. I seen it when I was a little kid, and I didn't even know what a marathon was, which is 26.2 miles. But I remember seeing it on TV, and ever since then, I wanted to do it, and I never did. I just, you know, year went by, would watch it on the news, would watch it on TV, and never did it. And then I was going through a divorce. I was depressed, and I'm like, I need something to bring back my mojo. I need something to bring me back to life and make me feel alive again. And I'm like, ooh, let me do something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm not quite sure if I could do it. And at the time, I, I was in my early 20s, so I was partying a lot, and I really wasn't in great shape. Um, and so I purposely didn't train for this marathon, and I just said I'm going to use all like my emotions to finish it. And mile 16 comes, and I cramp from the top of my hips all the way to the bottom of my Achilles, and it was really really tough. I didn't think I was going to be able to finish it, but that's when I heard everybody's voice of telling me, you can't do it, you can't do it, you're not going to finish, you're not strong enough. And I took all that negative energy, and somehow some way I finished LA Marathon 2007. After that, I was like, wow, that was great, but I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to do that again. That was so difficult. And then, I was doing some boxing and other different types of working out at that time. Um, Even though when I went into it, I was kind of partying mostly more than anything. But then I was like, wow, I thought I was in better shape. I thought I was a better athlete. I thought I could do this. I thought I could do that. And then 8 months later, I found myself in another marathon, the Long Beach Marathon. And now, 16 years later, I've completed 56 marathons, including 3 marathons in 3 days, running around Lake Tahoe, running a marathon on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In 2018, I decided to run a marathon a month for the whole year. I ended up doing a bonus marathon in October. So I did 13 marathons in 2018. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to see how long I could go for. And marathons are not expensive. I'm not a pro athlete. I don't get sponsored. I pay for everything. Up until recently, maybe the last 2 years, I've had a great organization, Stride for Stride, pay for my races. So if it wasn't for them this year, I would not have been able to keep up my streak. As as everybody has had to deal with their own adversity because of COVID, and I have too. So if you're just joining me, I really appreciate it. But basically, I was a knucklehead growing up, and I got a GED, and then I got a job at the bank, and it was horrible because I was like the guy that you call and you yell at, why do I have this fee and all this stuff. And then the bank that I worked for was not a good company. They ended up doing all kinds of fraud. I'm not going to mention names, but it paid my bills. And if you've ever seen the movie Devil's Advocate, I kind of felt like I was selling my soul every day I went to work. And I didn't want that. And then I went into treasury management. I worked my way up to the best department. And then everything was going good, making money, great benefits, weekends off. Let's see, not the best pay because the benefits were better, but good money for someone with a GED, someone who was a knucklehead. And I just, I couldn't handle it. Like I said, I felt like my soul was dying each time, and I wanted to walk away, and I was planning to walk away, and then COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, after that, I was like, oh, now I'm kind of stuck here. I have no choice. What am I going to do? Because I was planning to follow my passion, which is fitness, trying to motivate people to work out. And I've trained people along the way, but I always felt that would take away from my time, my training, and I wasn't ready for that yet. And at that time I was like, I'm ready for a change. So I was applying at a gym that I trained at, and I knew a lot of people there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna work there. And then COVID hit, and I'm like, now I'm stuck here. The gyms were closed; they all got shut down. So I was stuck at work, and then things were starting to get a little better, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna walk away from, a month's vacation, weekends off, benefits, okay pay, to pursue my passion, to work weekends, to make less money, but just to feel like I'm not just giving my money to a corporation that doesn't care about their customers. And then I left. I walked away from my job. And the first day at the new gym, I got laid off for the second wave of COVID. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Did I make a mistake? Should I go back? And I decided I'm just going to use my savings that I had and just go for it, double down, pursue what I wanted to do. It has not been easy. Uh, Fireside came along, and I really got to thank Fireside because they didn't care how many followers I had. They just basically, if you're being real and have a good message, they're give you an opportunity. So I got early access to Fireside, and that has helped me like bring on extraordinary guests. If you go back and listen to, I've had, you know, blind jiu-jitsu practitioners, blind surfers. I've had Steve Cotter. I've had Steve Maxwell. I've had I try and spotlight the people that need spotlighting, that don't get that recognition, that won't be on ESPN, and it's been a great ride so far. LA Marathon, you know, like I said, I've wrote to them. They've it's an expensive race. You pay about $200, and sometimes you don't get a shirt because they want everybody to volunteer, and they ignore my emails. And overall, I focus on the positive, not the negative. But I do love LA Marathon overall because that helped me kind of start changing my mentality, see how I see things, and and just start me on this road to want to keep bettering myself, because there was always that doubt in my mind. Can I complete a marathon? Can I do it? I wasn't quite sure. So doing something that you're not quite sure you can do, and then once you do it, it just opens up these pathways in your brain. You're like, wow, if I could complete that, then what else could I do? I've been selling myself short. And then from there, I just kept going. I got certified in US track and field and kettlebells, and started doing jujitsu, blue belt in jujitsu. I feel I would be more along if it wasn't for COVID. That set me back, and overall it's just been such a great experience. And for the last, I don't know, uh, after doing 56 marathons for 16 years, you kind of start to get slower, and your body starts to hurt if you don't know what you're doing. And then in 2019, I completed LA Marathon, and I'll tell you my time. It was 5 hours, 29 minutes, 50 seconds. And I think at that point I was like frustrated. And I'm like, I'm going backwards. I'm like, I'm not getting faster. I'll never qualify for Boston this way. Marathon is the oldest marathon in the United States, and it's like the Super Bowl of running, at least as far as marathons. And then in 2020, the algorithms hurt me, and I came across Ben Patrick, ATG, the knees over toes guy, and I started training with him and the whole group, and I started doing their workouts. And even with other certifications, they weren't focusing on injuries or how to make certain, like for example, who works out their knees besides when you're injured, or who works out your Achilles, or who works out on ankle strength. And they did that, and I knew somehow that that's what I was missing. So in 2020, Stride for Stride sponsored me, and I did a run. I know this is during COVID, but it was like late in the year, and they separated everybody 6 feet apart. There was only 22 marathons, and it was called Alien Escape from Area 51. So basically, you run to Area 51, It's in the middle of the desert. There's no one there, so you don't really have to worry about, um, you know, infection in that way. And sorry, you can hear a train in the background. And that time I improved. I got a 5 hours and 1 minute 15 seconds. And then uh, right before COVID, really, I'm sorry, that was later on, but right before the whole COVID, I did later on that year when LA Marathon happened. I moved my time up to 4 hours 47 seconds, and then they did it in 2021. This is why I have that shirt. If you did in 2021 and then in 2022 they gave you a new shirt with your name on it. I got it down to 4 hours 31 minutes and 29 seconds. So I shaved an hour off my time. I'm like, I'm back. I'm feeling strong. I'm getting to, you know, to where I need to be, where I want to be. And, as you get older, you're not supposed to get faster. And I want to encourage people not to worry about age or anything like that. When I first ran my first marathon, the last mile was a tribute to a doctor who passed away, and I think he started running at age 90. And his whole message was like, it's never too late to start, to get healthy, to work out. And then he ended up passing away like 4 years later. And so he ran the marathon until the day he died. And then that tribute really made me think about it. And then, of course, my savings is like going smaller and smaller and smaller. So I'm like, I don't want to go back and work for a corporation that doesn't care about people. I don't care what you say. You don't care. I've been there long enough. And so what I decided to do was um, look for some sort of part-time job and follow the dream, because I coach people, but I don't make enough money to live. I live in Los Angeles, California. Uh, Gas is so expensive prior to what happened in Ukraine. And now with that, it's even more. Housing is so expensive. Um, and then I was fortunate enough to have someone steal my Cadillac converter, and they stole it. And then my car has pretty much been dead. So I haven't had a car since last year. And I'm not saying this for people to have pity. I'm just saying this so that people can, like, how bad do you want your goal or, your dream, or pursue it? Um, like, for example, on Sundays, I walk 1 hour to do jujitsu. Then I train for 2 hours and then I walk back for another hour. Like, how committed are you to your goal, even when things don't go your way? With all that stuff going on, in 2022, my finishing time, which was last Sunday, was 4 hours 56 minutes 52 seconds. So now, finally, after like what I think it's 3 years, I took a step backwards. I got slower, and I could say, "Oh, I don't have a car, this or that." Regardless, um, the way I see it is, uh, I took it. I don't want to say I took it easy because I've been doing all kinds of things, but I need to be honest. And I didn't train as hard. I didn't do what I needed to do to get the results I wanted. So I'm not going to use excuses or anything like that, but we all go through obstacles in our life, and that's okay. And sometimes you will take a step back, and that's okay. Just keep moving forward. Now, my goal is OC Marathon, which is in May, which I am an ambassador for. So if you live in Orange County, you're interested in running that, you could use discount code RayRuns10, and that'll give you a discount on anything from their kids run to their half marathon to their marathon to their 5K. And now I'm planning. I have 1 month to make up for that time, because it does. My competitive sides eats at me, and I'm like, I could do better. But then, when I think about, for example, the lady that I was talking about earlier, Paddock, who passed away, I know there's bigger things in life than being competitive, especially when you're not a pro athlete. There's definitely bigger things. Um, LA Marathon has not been the same either. In 2021, they had roughly about a little bit over 8,000 runners. And in this year, it looks like they had about 11,500 runners. When I've been doing it with 20,000 runners, 25,000 runners. So it's definitely taken a hit. I think people are still afraid of, being exposed and all that, which everyone has a right to feel how they want to feel. Um, but to me, it's kind of sad to see less people, because as it is, the percentage of people who run a marathon is, I think, like 1%. And then there's a lot of repeat offenders like myself who keep doing it over and over. So if you take those people away, it might be less than 1% of the population. Yet I feel that almost everybody could do a marathon. So overall, I'm blessed. I'm so happy to do LA Marathon. I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. They changed the course. It doesn't end at the beach anymore. You run through all like iconic places in Los Angeles. You start off in Dodger Stadium, then you work your way through Chinatown and downtown LA, the Disney Concert Hall. You run down Hollywood Boulevard, Rodeo Drive, Sunset Boulevard, and now it ends in Century City. But before it used to end at the beach, and that attracted a lot of people, and I could see. And now the last 4 miles are just uphill, which are brutal. It was not easy. And like I said, I'm really pissed off that I went backwards, because I took my foot off the pedal. I know that I could do better, and I don't want to use, not having a car, not this, not that, looking for work. Luckily, I got a job, a part-time job, because I'm not willing to give up my dream. So I got a job between coaching and the part-time job. I should be good to keep going, and that's the whole goal, just to motivate, to inspire. If you don't work out, I hope you start working out. If you are working out and you're thinking about quitting, keep working out. Or if you're already like an elite athlete, I feel you can definitely take it to another level. I'm always looking into different types of training, mental motivation, NLP, whatever it is. Tony Robbins, which is like probably the most famous motivational speaker out there, and he kind of learned a lot. He's from Azusa, which is where I'm from, and nobody knows where Azusa is. Maybe some people do now because of APU, which is the university in the city of Azusa. Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, is from, or he went there, and then from there he went to the NFL. But really, most people have no clue where that's at. It's in San Gabriel Valley in Azusa. When people think of the valley, they always think of San Fernando Valley. There's been movies made about it. But I'm just blessed to basically not have any heart issues or anything like that while I'm on the course. And I deeply feel for the family, and the, you know she was, it's kind of hard because the newspaper says she was 46, and then the fire department has her listed at 44. So I'm not really quite sure how old she was, but man, she was just trying to do something positive, and she ended up passing away on the finish line. And if you see any of the interviews, the way the family took it, it's just amazing. They just felt like she was so giving. Um, if I remember correctly, they said she got a PhD in kindness, and it was time for her to move on. And man, that's tough. But if you're gonna remember your loved one, that's the way to do it. And so far, this whole Fireside experience has been great. I'm grateful to Fireside because, you know, I've had, like today, I had an individual from France reach out to me. English isn't that good, but they want to work out. I'm like, how would I have been able to reach someone in France? Or, or I've had some DMs after finishing LA Marathon telling me, "Oh, you're an inspiration." And I'm not saying this to gloat or like give myself a pat in the back, but it's always like, you know, I never really thought that what I was doing was inspiring or motivating anybody. But you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's listening, and you may never even hear from them. That's the amazing thing. Like some of these countries that have been listening to me, I'm like, I had to look them up. But if I could touch one person, to me, I'm happy. Um, because when it's all said and done, it's not going to be about the money. It doesn't matter how much money you make, you're still going to be buried in the same dirt or cremated the same way. It doesn't matter. Like you can make 100,000, $1 million. You could be Elon Musk. His dirt is going to be the same dirt that I'm buried in. So to me, it's about impact, about changing lives, about I'm a father, I have a daughter and a son. What kind of message do I want to leave them? What kind of influence do I want to be? I have family members that, as much as I work out, they don't listen to me, and they're being diagnosed with high blood pressure or pre-diabetic, and I'm like, I can't force you to work out. The only thing I can do is lead by example. And then if you want my help, I'm more than happy to help you out. And that goes for everybody. I answer DM messages all the time, like, hey, what can I do for this for free? Because there's been many, many times where I didn't have that support. And sometimes you just need like someone to believe in you. Um, when I was in high school, like I said, I got kicked out. Not one, like I had, uh, you know what? She's probably passed away by now, so I don't want to mention her name. But every day she would call me and all my classmates losers. I'm like, that's not what you want to do to young people. Um, but I had one teacher. He's like, everyone gave you a F and a D, and I know you're getting kicked out. So I want you to know that I believe in you. And he gave me a C. So that little bit of hope, that little bit of encouragement can go a long way. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. Um, so today's can be a little bit of a short show. I just wanted to mention that the experience has been great in LA Marathon, and the tragedy that happened as far as Paddock passing away, especially with what she was trying to do. But overall, and I'm not telling you to go out and run 26.2 miles, but start walking. Start the only like the only one you're hurting if you don't become active is yourself. You know, you don't want to pay doctors all that money. My cousin is a detective for the sheriffs. He's, having some heart issues recently. He served in Afghanistan. And then another gentleman I know, he worked for a company um, for like 25 years, never missed a day. And now he's having heart issues. They're telling him he needs to lose weight. And I believe in working hard and giving it your all in everything. But what's the point of giving it your all to these corporations if they don't really truly care about you, and they're going to take your insurance away after like a year or two when you really need it? So at this point, I could kind of just throw it all, like the last so many years. It's been a couple years now that I walked away from the bank, and I could just go back and get another job and work at a bank, and who knows, maybe get a heart attack with the stress, or maybe make a lot of money. Um, but there's no way I'm going to make the same impact working for a bank than I am if I could help people get in better shape, be able to play with their grandkids, avoid that heart attack, avoid that high cholesterol, avoid that diabetes or anything like that. And with the way everyone's so sensitive now, I'm always like, to me, this isn't about body shaming or anything like that, but it's really more about your health. And no one is gonna care about your health except for you. So, if you need some help, You already know where to find me. I'm Coach Ray Z everywhere, all platforms. I don't even have it going on the fortune cookie. I, 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 so many decisions that I've had to come where like, oh, I could do commercials beforehand or this or that, but I, I don't want that. I want really just for people to know I'm coming at you from a real place and there's nothing phony going on. I like when I'm telling you, I walk an hour to work, I walk an hour back, and then from there, I still have to work out. I still have to keep doing this. It's not as effective as it was when I had a car, but I can't make excuses because there's other people out there. I have a blind friend who lives in Scotland. He's blind. He takes the bus, and then from the bus, he takes a train. And then from that train, he takes another bus, and then he either has to walk or take an Uber to get to jujitsu. And he does this every day and he's blind. And I don't like to compare myself to other people, but I do compare myself with, like as far as to motivate me, you know, because comparing yourself to like, well, why is this person better than me, or why does this person have this car, or why this, that's not going to get you nowhere. But like when you're down and out and you're like, man, I'm blessed enough to have my eyesight. How am I just going to be lazy and just stay home and be like, oh, feel sorry for myself, uh I don't have a car, so I'm just going to not do it, because at some point, no matter how fortunate you are, there's going to be something that comes along, unfortunately, in your life. It could be for you or your loved one. And it's really just going to be about like, about you be willing to stick it out and persevere and just keep going. And always, I stress so much because it's really easy to for me to just start drinking all day and not do anything, and like a lot of people, but that's not going to help me in the long run. So I think about solutions, because it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, well, why me, why me, or why is this happening to me? And I think now, 20 years ago, I was so weak minded, and that I would have been like, well, why me, or it's not fair. And now it's like, well, this is happening to me for a reason. There's someone out there watching or listening that I don't know, that hopefully I could help out. And I may never hear from you, and sometimes I do get those random DMs, and those are actually truly, like this past weekend I got three, and they really just enough for me to keep going, and for me to like, oh, I am touching people. It doesn't, like, I have done shows on Fireside where there's absolutely nobody, and to me, like, that's okay, because I know when I redistribute as a podcast, I see where I'm reaching, and I'm like, someone's listening, someone cares enough where, they're hearing these words or they're inspiring. I have plenty of people, mentors, people that I find inspiring, and it ranges from so many different coaches, so like from jiu-jitsu to basketball to professional athletes to David Goggins. And we all need, I'm not saying to be them exactly, because there's part of me where I'm like, oh, David Goggins would say your inner bitch is taking over and you're just being weak. But then I'm doing the best I can, and I'm not going to beat myself up because I can't be David Goggins, because then I'm comparing myself in a negative way. The only way I compare it to people is like when I'm like, I could use it as motivation. So I hope anyone listening to this show, if you're struggling, keep going. I can't tell you that everything is going to be okay, because it's not for everybody. But regardless, I think that the impact when I'm in the dirt overall, it's like, I hope that my kids are proud, and generations to come. I'm first generation Mexican American, and i I think about the struggles that my family did to come here. My mom and dad both came here legally. I know that a lot of people think, oh, all Mexicans, even though California, Texas, Arizona was Mexico before it turned into United States. Um, they think, oh, everybody comes here illegally and they're not productive. And my parents came over here legally, started a business, and there's plenty of people out there that are good people that can inspire you to keep going. And I now as I get older, I think about those generations, like grandpa and grandma didn't do this in vain. So I hope this inspires you to keep going, work out, do some sort of fitness, watch what you eat. Um, this is my cheat week in eating. I had not drank a soda since November, and this week during LA Marathon, I got to drink my soda. And I'm gonna. This is the last week of me cheating. I'll go back to dedication until the next marathon. And this is a big year because things are opening up. And I want to go back to what I was doing. I was playing in the local Nike basketball tournaments. I played with my son and my nephew, and trying to compete with the younger people is not easy, but I'm still there. And then I want to get back to competing in jiu-jitsu. The only thing I've been able to do is run, but I just like I'm not a pro athlete. I was never gifted with super athletic abilities. If you've ever seen the movie Rudy, where he's like, you're 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, and you got zero speck of ability, that is me. But regardless of that, I'm just following my passion, enjoying what I do. And it doesn't really matter if you can make it to the NFL or NBA or pros or like me, chasing my crazy dream of trying to become a sponsored athlete at this age. But it makes me happy. I'd rather do this than work at a bank, a corporation. That the main objective is to make the investors money in the stock market. And it doesn't really matter if you have to do fraud or anything else. That's not the type of life I want to live. I don't want to just be here and if I have to go against what typical thinking is, I'm okay with that. I'm at this point in my life, I'm confident enough where like I don't need all that. I don't need all like the way we're like taught that, oh, you need material stuff, you need this, you need that to be cool, you need Nike shoes, you need a Mercedes. I don't care about any of that. Would I like it? Of course. Sure. Sure. But that doesn't make me happy. My family, my friends make me happy. Um, my personal accomplishments, when I think, oh, that's not even possible, makes me happy. So hopefully this encourages people out there to just go out for your passion, your goal. Maybe you could be smarter about it than I did, about just quitting and not having that much money saved up. But of course, no one really knew what was going to happen with COVID. So I'm not going to beat myself over that. What happened happened, and now it's just about moving forward. And like I said, I'll be back next week. This is Athletic Definition. My name is Coach Ray Z. I appreciate everyone listening in the audience and in the stream. And I will see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.